Hey up, welcome back to the channel and a new video, and you join me here today as always at the Chateau, and this is part 2 of our snagging videos. In the first video we had a lengthy list of snags on this brand new Swift Carrera 184, and on the day of filming we was going back to the dealers to have some of the work rectified, as some warranty claims had already been submitted, but our list was growing, therefore some snags on the list were going to be new warranty claims. Before we get on to the list, you may not have any issues with your brand new camper van, brand new caravan or brand new motorhome, but these videos are just to raise awareness and to highlight the issues we've had with ours. This channel is all about transparency, and this is our journey through our snags and our 3-year manufacturer's warranty. Moving on to our snags. If you remember, our first snag was this front dinette cupboard. It wasn't attached to the ceiling correctly. There was a gap in between the top of the cupboard and the ceiling, and the screws was exposed. And this was because there was a random screw just knocking about on top of the cupboard. So they tried screwing the cupboard to the ceiling, but it was never going to go because there was a screw fouling in between the top of the cupboard and the ceiling. That's been rectified now. It's all in line. We're happy with that. Nice and tidy. Moving on to the LED strip. This LED strip was failing. There was an LED not illuminated there. That's been changed. And moving on to this panel. This panel, it kept coming unattached at the bottom there, and it was because all this wasn't attached to the ceiling correctly, and it was pushing it all down, and it kept coming off every time you drove off up the road. That's been secured. Our next warranty claim was this front dinette table. You can't really tell on the camera there, but it's damaged on the corner. We're still waiting for this part. Moving on to the problem we had with this rear bed. If you can remember, these brackets didn't line up with these locating areas. Same with this one, this bracket didn't line up with this locating area. Originally, this bracket was here. I had to get my drill out and my pot rivet gun and move it to there. Same with this one. It was originally here. I had to move it to there. That was so we could actually use the van, so it'd line up, so we could make the bed. Now the dealer said there's nothing wrong with that now, it's fully functional. But my argument is I shouldn't have to modify the bed like that just so we can use it. I got onto Swift, and Swift have now agreed that they're going to replace the bed for us. Moving into the fridge, this bottom plastic tray is broken, and we're still awaiting for that part. Underneath the fridge we've got the wardrobe, and the hanging rail, it was cut too short and it kept falling off. Every time you hung some clothes on it, it fell off. That's been replaced. Moving into the rear lounge, this had come unattached, this trim. That's been secured. And moving into the bathroom, this is damaged. You can't really see on camera, but it's cracked on the corners. Still waiting for this part. Our next area of concern was this rear gutter. Both ends of the rear gutter was filled in, sealed up with silicone. I shown it to the dealer, and the dealer removed the silicone, but I got onto Swift and I said, why was the rear gutter filled with silicone? They said, when they initially began building the Carrera, it was thought that sealing the gutter with silicone would prevent leaks. However, it was discovered this was not necessary. as rain naturally runs off the tray and onto the back door. I still find that completely unbelievable. The next thing I wanted the dealer to check was this front bed. I just wanted them to check everything was present and correct, and it is, which is good. As a single bed it's great, but as a double bed I'd say it was very occasional use, let's put it that way. Next we're moving on to the rear doors, and we had a number of concerns with these rear doors. The first one being these hinges. If you remember, there was unpainted areas around the hinge and around the bolts, and this one was the same, around the hinge and around the bolts, unpainted areas. And my concern was the door had moved on the hinge, but a few of you commented quite rightly that this wasn't the case. What has actually happened there is the doors are hung on the body shell and it's painted, and later the doors are adjusted for fitment, hence you can get unpainted areas around here where the door's been adjusted to fit. Unbelievable. So I went to my local Wigan Paints and got some correct paint matched up, and I painted it to make it right. The button here, so you can open the door wider, that kept falling off. That's been replaced. And this panel, it was all loose and all coming away. All that's been sorted. I had a lot of comments about the insulation in the back doors, or at least the lack of it. There was hardly any insulation in the back doors, just a small amount that was chucked in, weren't even secure. So what I did, I went to B&Q and I got some insulation made from recycled plastic bottles. This is the correct insulation for a camper van, as it doesn't absorb moisture and it's good to work with because it's not itchy. So I got as much as I could in the back doors, had it in every nook and cranny, so they should be right now, nice and toasty warm. We did have an issue with this grommet. It had fallen inside on the sink there, but the dealers fixed that for us, that's great. And we did have an issue with this blind fly screen. When you drove down the road, it moved on its own, it didn't stay in position, so that's been retensioned. That's great. After a couple of days of heavy rain, this driver's side seatbelt was getting wet, and I mentioned it to my dealers, and I felt like I was getting passed from pillar to post, because they said because it's part of the Fiat body shell, it's not something they could look at. I'd have to get in touch with a Fiat professional. So I got in touch with Fiat professional, and they said it's more than likely not going to be a manufacturing defect on the Fiat side. They said Swift have taken a van and they've cut holes in it for windows, skylights, television aerials, etc, etc, and therefore it was more likely going to be a defect on the conversion side of it. So I put this back to my dealers and they've now agreed to investigate this. They said they'll have a look at it next time it comes in for the rest of the snagging. These front captain's chairs, the finish on them is not great. They've got like speckles all over the vegan leatherette. This is a new warranty claim that's been submitted. Moving on to this baffle. This baffle, that fell off. That's now been secured by the dealer. The next thing I wanted the dealer to check was the whole charging system. The leisure battery, the Sergeant unit, the solar panel and the MPPT controller. This van's got 100 watt of solar, and it's got a tiny 80 amp hour lead acid leisure battery, and it's all trying to run this compressor fridge. So even in the summer, wall-to-wall sunshine, it's just not up to the job. You're lucky if it lasts a day and a half. The dealer checked everything and everything is working fine, but again, it's just not up to the job. So I'm currently looking at alternatives, maybe larger capacity leisure batteries. It's something that's going to have to be upgraded, as it really is a necessity. Just to recap, we did have 20 snagging issues, 14 of them have now been rectified. The remaining 6 issues, 3 of them were waiting on parts, 2 were new warranty claims, and the last one needs investigating when the van's back in for warranty work. But for today, I'll take that as a win. As always, if you found this video interesting, then give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and if you're interested in seeing what Tracy and I get up to on weekends away, then consider subscribing to the channel. As always, thanks for tuning in to Thomsons UK Trips, and we'll hopefully catch you on the next one.